They tell the Coke versus Pepsi war like it was just about taste. But in Jim Crow America, it was about race. Coca-Cola was sold as a white man's drink, and Pepsi? They hired Edward Boyd, one of the first black executives in corporate America, to build the first all-black marketing team. Not out of respect, out of profit. Coca-Cola was born in Atlanta in 1886, right in the Jim Crow South. From the start, Coke ads showed white families, white workers, white leisure. Right. And then came the panic. Around 1906, Southern newspapers pushed racist lies that Coke, with its caffeine and before 1904's actual Coke, would make black men violent or lust after white women. Lawmakers even used those fears when passing the Pure Food and Drug Act. Coke's answer was to double down on respectability, market the drink to white middle-class women, keep black consumers invisible. That's how Coke built his empire. But make no mistake, this was complete strategy. Pepsi didn't uplift us out of love. They wanted the dollars that Coke left on the table. But even inside, Pepsi's racism never left. Bottlers in the South straight out refused to run Boyd's ads. Some destroyed his materials. Corporate leaders pressured him to tone it down out of fear of white backlash. By 1951, Boyd left the company. Coke built his empire by locking us out. Pepsi built his brand by letting Edward Boyd and his sales team market us in. But neither of them were selling freedom. They were selling segregation.
Greetings from the east to north to south, and this wicked ass west. The topic, America's laws and the black race. The questions, why you think 70% of America's laws and the Constitution is based and written to contain the black race. Let's get into it. I'm your host. I am the one.
Okay, they will tell you that the black population is 12, 13, 14% of America. I remember an older guy told me years and years and years ago, we remain 12, 13, 14% of the population for 50, 60, 70 years. The old guy looked me dead in the face. He said, I guess nobody was born and nobody died. But here's my point about the situation of laws here in America. It seemed to me that every single law that they make in this country is based on a population of people that they will tell you is 12, 13, 14% of the population of this country. Why is it so important out of every other group in this country that they make laws specifically to contain us? To me, it makes no sense. A group of people that can do you no harm. After all, we have no military might, no financial might. We don't own no corporations, no companies, or anything. But they seem to come up with law after law after law for one specific group of people. And guess who these people are? The black race. 12, 13, 14% of the population, according to them. You will notice they will have or write or enact law after law after law, specifically to contain the black population. I mean, you think about it for a minute. They made a law where blacks cannot join the baseball league. They made laws for education. There's a whole list of laws that they enacted simply because of us. Why is that? All the Jim Crow laws, just for us. Gun rights, they were made and written for good Christian white folks. But for us, they say, no, not for you. Drinking water. Well, you can't drink out of our water fountain. College admissions. Well, you can't go to college. Armed services, military action. Well, no, you can't do that. Housing. Housing. Well, no, you can't live here. And they will write laws on the books and enforce them where we can't do just about anything. One specific group in the country, one, that they seem to write laws to contain us. Why? Join me with maybe I got 4 or 5 clips. I'm only going to do 5 in this video of laws they made specifically where we can't do anything. And even if they allow us to do it, it's on a limited basis. I'm pretty sure you heard this term separate and unequal. Let's go to the next clip.
Today we'll be covering Brown versus Board of Education. This is the case that declared segregated public schools to be unconstitutional. After slavery was abolished in the U.S., many states found ways to still discriminate against African Americans. This was particularly prominent in the South, but occurred outside the South as well. One of these methods of discrimination was segregation, the separation of Black and white Americans in almost every space one might attend. This included everything from public parks to schools to public transportation to jails. There were even separate bathrooms and drinking fountains for white people and people of color. Before Brown, the Supreme Court had already heard a case involving segregation back in 1896. In Plessy v. Ferguson, the court ruled that segregation was not a violation of the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause, so long as everything was separate but equal. In reality, things were not truly equal, and the policies only existed to perpetrate racism. But regardless, the case declared segregation to be constitutionally permissible. Flash forward 58 years to the 1950s, and segregation was still widely enforced.
Okay, this was in the area of education. 1954 was Brown versus the Board of Education. To make a long story short, I didn't want to run that full video, but it was a case where the father and mother noticed that their little girl had to walk past a good Christian white school and had to catch a bus to go to a black school. So eventually they sued. They took it to the Supreme Court, and they did win. Now, that should have been pretty obvious. It's really sad when you would have to really go to court over something so obvious. That was obvious. But see, when you're dealing with these people here, I mean, it is what it is. So let's move to another one. It's universal health insurance. The only reason why America, supposedly the richest country in the whole world, do not have universal health coverage for all its citizens. Anybody want to guess why? Anybody want to guess why? Well, these good Christian people right here, at the time of this proposal, did not want black people to be covered for health insurance. So what they did was scrap the whole program. And then they made you buy health coverage. And we're going to let one of these people explain what happened. Let's go to the next clip.
What if the United States doesn't have universal health care because of race? Seriously, let's look back at the 1800s. Doctors knew even then that showering will probably prevent diseases from spreading. Which of course, they were right. And even though they didn't know much about viruses as they weren't discovered yet, they knew that poor nutrition made people more susceptible to illnesses. But the incredible thing is that doctors knew even then that vaccinations could stop an outbreak in its tracks. And that's actually how they prevented smallpox from unaliving the Union Army. The saddest part is that once slavery was abolished, newly freed African Americans faced a much higher mortality rate than white people. And I wonder why. Let me take a wild guess. Because this country is perhaps racist? African Americans down in the South literally pled for help from the government that just freed them. I mean, these motherfuckers couldn't even keep their first promise of 40 acres and a mule. You think they were gonna provide health care to slaves, to people that they don't even think are people? No, absolutely not.
Okay, let me go ahead and cut that short because this guy here, he wasn't going to get to the point. You know, he was being like dramatic. But the fact of the matter is that I think it was during the FDR presidency. I'm assuming that was around 1940, maybe 40 to 45. I can't remember. But I think they did introduce universal health care. But the only holdup was its black population. The fact of the matter is they didn't want black people to receive universal health care. So I do believe they scrapped the whole program. This thing is not hard to look up and figure it out. But you must read between the lines. They're not going to come out and tell you, well, it's because we didn't want to cover black people. What they will do is take you around the block. And if you go around the block, if you look at the scenery hard enough, you will see the details in the scenery. Now, the next one is gun control. And the laws they impose simply because of black people. Let's go to the next clip.
The Genesis gun control was designed to keep guns out of the hands of black people. The last thing that they want to do is to prop up a message that demonstrates to the very people that they rely on to gain their power is the idea that we utilize the very thing they're trying to ban to gain our freedom or to protect our families back during a time period where we needed them the most.
I think Negroes should, in areas where the police, whether it be federal, state, or city, have proven their inability or their unwillingness to defend Negroes, the lives and the property of Negroes, then it's only intelligent and it's only right that Negroes protect themselves. And I have encouraged them to buy a rifle and a shotgun, which according to the Constitution is legal.
Following the rise of slave rebellion, there was paranoia in the part of white settlers that there could be a violent rebellion. As a result of this growing fear, a series of laws passed restricting slaves from owning guns. These laws were known as slave codes.
I can run down a laundry list of freedom fighters that used guns to literally kill slave masters or to kill KKK members. But because it's so removed from our history, a lot of people just don't know about it anymore.
After emancipation, several southern states adopted black codes, which barred freed slaves from having guns on the basis that blacks were not citizens and therefore could not bear arms.
Gun control was started in Virginia to make sure that melanated beings did not have the means to protect themselves. That's what happened. It's not like me making it up. That's like stats, that's like history. During the Great Migration after, the Civil War, with lots of melanated people looking for different opportunities and work, they galvanized, and even after that, to, in the industrial age, to urban centers like Detroit, like Atlanta, like Philadelphia. There's big pockets of melanated beings in these bigger cities. And that's where the gun control, the racist gun control, followed.
As civil rights and desegregation was underway, the Ku Klux Klan gained traction with an agenda to intimidate the blacks and regain control of the South.
In a few short months, 5 murders, 13 alleged members of the Ku Klux Klan said to be involved in the killings.
When such an order as this moves in and takes over the police power, you are completely at their mercy.
The Klan used to ride through small towns of Jonesboro, and it was only when the folks in those towns shot at the Klan that those night raids stopped. A lot of blacks in the South saw that one way of pushing back against racism is to be armed.
Civil rights movement was backed by arms because they understood the need for it. Because in such a small setting, especially when you're restricted, you understand the need for systems of checks and balances and to check somebody that's trying to stop your growth.
So the last thing that they want to do is to prop up a message that demonstrates to the very people that they rely on to gain their power is the idea that we utilize the very thing they're trying to ban to gain our freedom or to protect our families back during a time period where we needed them the most.
Post-civil rights era, Democratic-led cities enacted targeted gun control policies in black communities. As early as 2010, it took a black man, Otis McDonald, suing the city of Chicago to overturn its 28-year-old handgun ban.
Gun owners and activists are celebrating a historic victory in the right to keep and bear arms. A 5-4 decision of the Supreme Court, which overturned a Chicago handgun ban and extended Second Amendment rights to all 50 states and all the cities and towns in them.
Law-abiding citizens like myself is being victimized by saying that you can't have a handgun in your own home. Why? Tell me what I can't have in my own home. I'm not out there robbing nobody.
One thing you will notice is they enact laws immediately when they deem there's a problem. But when it come down to blacks and being abused by the police, child support laws, they seem to like wait and wait and wait, drag their tail before they change the law. But when it come down to things pertaining to black people, they immediately enact laws to stifle any type of black growth or any type of black prosperity. You know, there's been many cases of law enforcement abuse against citizens, but there are no new laws. They seem to turn a blind eye and say, well, nothing to see here. But any type of black progress, any type of black success, they enact new laws. So this is by design. This video will be a part 2 because it's running a bit long. I'll say it again. Thank you for watching. I am your host. I am the one.